Girl, all the rich niggas, they want you, want her.
Top of the morning, me anti. It's your boy Big Buddy, and today we talking about the gay for pay to God Grift pipeline. We mostly be talking about the Island Boys and how they went from bastardizing patois, which bolstered them into fame. Then they fell off, and then subsequently got into an incestuous homosexual relationship with each other. But I'm getting ahead of myself because we first have to talk about the exercise of today, chest. And it ain't even too complicated. We have incline bench press and chest dips as the main exercises today. Essentially, I rotated between the two, completing as many reps as possible. So after I go to failure on the incline bench press, I would then go to the chest dips. The incline bench press was pretty straightforward for the most part. I fluctuated between benching my body weight for the most part and then benching a little bit less than my body weight. And then the chest dip is where it gets a little bit more complicated because I went between weighted chest dips, training a 45 plate to me, and also doing 1.5 chest dips, which is essentially you go to the full range of motion, go back up, and then you go halfway, and then you go back up. Okay, so the Island Boys. If you have not had the unfortunate pleasure of inuring yourself to the Island Boys' existence, let's indulge.
I'ma keep it like an island boy. I'ma keep it like it's wild, but you better really keep that gun.
In the late 2010s, I think before the pandemic, or maybe during the pandemic, time is kind of a blur at this point, these two racially ambiguous young men that looked like if the Onceler twins had a child with the Mucinex germ rose to prominence by making a song in a fake patois that would rival Steven Seagal. At the time, I wasn't really on YouTube, I wasn't online like that, so I didn't get a chance to unbase them the way that I would love to. But I had to circle the block on that because once they stumbled upon my For You page, I haven't seen them in quite some time, they had fallen off and then fell back onto something else. I'll get into that in a second. To be honest, everything I've heard from them has been against my will, and I haven't heard that much from them to begin with. I only heard Island Boy as a refrain. I haven't actually heard them say it. When I was in the States, people them was coming up to me like, Island Boy, sound like the goddamn cinnamon stick from the Apple Jacks commercial, because people would assume that I was Jamaican, which is what the accent was trying to mimic, and the patois that they were trying to mimic, and I'm not. I am from the Bahamas. But I digress. The existence of the Island Boys affected me in a very grand way because it brought to the forefront a fake patois, a parody, ridiculous fake patois. And I had just gotten past the Views Drake era. And if you recall, Drake during Views employed one of the worst patois that has ever assaulted my eardrums. And I had to deal with that for about 4 years. Anytime people would see me in the States, they would ask if they could have a one dance or pass them the controller. And I would go apoplectic. And then here came Island Boys, essentially bringing their brand of fake patois into the goddamn zeitgeist. The TikTok has a very low shelf life. At this point, you're well aware that TikTok fame is a very fleeting fame. You could have 1 million followers on TikTok and that doesn't necessarily translate to anything outside of the platform. And the fact that these videos on TikTok for the most part are so short, it's very difficult to monetize them in general because you can't really put ads on them. People don't go to TikTok more so for a singular creator. They mostly go to TikTok for a scrolling experience. The short form platform essentially aggregates all of these people into this one experience that makes it very difficult to discern what exactly they even watched in the first place. Which is probably one of the reasons why Island Boys didn't last very long. Not only that, but it was an awful song, if a song at that. I mean, the TikTokification of music in general is a whole nother story, but the fact of the matter is, these aren't really songs that these people making on these platforms. It's at best some motifs, some ideas. Don't get me wrong, there are some very great artists coming off of TikTok, but not many of them, as you've noticed, have been able to actually translate that into careers in music. Because a lot of them, unfortunately, don't make songs. They make music for TikTok. And I'd put the Island Boys under that umbrella, as they were essentially one and dones. I wouldn't even call them a one-hit wonder because it wasn't a hit, it wasn't a song to begin with. But clout make a nigga do a lot of different things. And when you see that it's leaving, when you see that it's fleeting, and you've grown accustomed to it, God forbid you've invested into a lifestyle built off of a fleeting level of fame, and now you have to keep up appearances as well as just your monthly expenditure in general. So now you have to resort to things that you might not normally do, like having an incestuous homosexual relationship with your brother. Now, if you're new here, all of my queer folk, them, you don't know, love you all down bad. The way the people have been covering the Island Boys gay grift, because spoiler, it is a grift, I don't necessarily know or think that they are actually gay. You can't be sure because you're not supposed to be sure of those type of things. However, people have been describing it in very homophobic terms. So let me be abundantly and unequivocally clear. No homophobia in the comment section. Or else you're getting banned. Because the problem isn't the homosexuality of it, it's something different. The Island Boys essentially tapped into a very age-old taboo trope that has worked in spicy material for quite some time, which is essentially incestuous relationships. A stepbrother or hot stepmom trope that has become part and parcel of the spicy zeitgeist for quite some time. And the Island Boys, with their waning relevancy, saw an opportunity to essentially cash out on that niche. And the way that they chose to do that was interesting. They kissed on camera and they insinuated that they were going to do more. I'm not sure if they did more. I wasn't trying to find out.
My man, he love me. He always told that Glock when he selling weed. I said, my man, he love me.
I don't know who the other dude is. I guess Dog was just there and they was just like, alright, I guess you're part of the menage a trois at this point. And they tried to take their material to OF, it would seem. At one point, it looked like they were propounded to make quite a bit of money off of the platform. And for some reason, unbeknownst to me, I'm not too sure why, but it doesn't seem like they went through with it. And months later, the Island Boys, yet again with waning relevancy, took to TikTok and appeared on a podcast where they explained why exactly they did what they did in the first place.
Do you guys still do OnlyFans? How long have you guys been on OnlyFans?
No, we don't do OnlyFans anymore.
Y'all were on there for a little bit, right?
We were on there for like 8 months, something like that.
They got banned.
Why did it get banned?
The feds came to OnlyFans and said, it's either you're gonna have these two twins racking up
billions of
millions
dollars,
or your multi-billion-dollar company is gonna be took down because we kissed each other and they had a problem with it.
Why did you guys kiss each other, if you don't mind me asking?
It's the devil right there.
Now herein lies one of the bigger problems. They claimed that it was the devil that made them kiss each other. It was the devil that made them gay, which is a very pernicious and insidious thing to do, because not only have you gone from capitalizing off of one culture, which is the Caribbean, and making a bastardized patois sound talking about Island Boys, but then you move on when you see that that isn't working out to the queer community and capitalize off of queer culture. So two marginalized communities, sometimes the same, you're trying to capitalize off of in order to gain some buzz. They don't have any Caribbean heritage, and it doesn't seem like they're queer, because why would you say that about the queer community? But at the same time, because homophobia is prevailing in society in general, you never truly know if it isn't simply internalized homophobia that compels a man who is trying to experiment with their sexuality under the microscope, under this panopticon of social media, to say something to demonize that part of themselves if it was a part of them to begin with. So I want to hold space for that. But at the same time, given that the Island Boys have commodified one culture, I don't believe that this is something that they actually care about. And speaking of the Foucaultian panopticon concept, you have to also talk about the way that deviance is amplified in these cases. The Island Boys blew up off of a dramatic presentation, heavily tattooed, Cheeto puff dreads, rapping in an obviously bad Jamaican accent, and using patois. They're deviating from a societal standard, and that's what brought attention to them. And when we reward that deviance, we're essentially amplifying it. And that amplification teaches anybody else that's looking that, hey, if you want to get fame and acclaim and potentially paid because of this, you can simply do something outrageous and it'll bring you notoriety and get you paid. But most of all, you're teaching the deviant themselves that their deviance will be rewarded with clicks, with views, with, of course, monetary value to an extent. That's the reason why they have to continue to up the ante every time. So it goes from bastardizing patois to having an incestuous homosexual relationship with your brother. Not gonna lie, kind of a dramatic leap, but anyway. And then when that fails, they turn to the God Grift.
So fly. Yeah. You got millions of young people following you.
I got millions of young people following me. You are a superstar. Lots of people look up to you, man. You've been doing weird stuff out here, man. Like kissing your brother, Fly. That's not very fly, bro. You take Jesus as your savior? Okay, I'm gonna baptize you, my brother. Are you ready? Buried with Jesus in baptism.
And you can see that they targeting that hyper-religious audience by demonizing queer people by saying that the devil made them kiss each other, which in turn demonizes their past actions. So they've tokenized themselves in a way to this hyper-religious audience. And then they're reforming themselves into God-fearing influencers. And we have seen this with quite a bit of people. I mean, Black China did. The sexually deviant body influencer to born again Christian, baptized, the whole 9 yards. You've also seen Brittany Renner turn to Islam. The God Grift is a reliable get out of jail free card. So when one's deviant behavior is amplified, so they're left with the societal penalties of being a deviant, they then restart the checkpoint by defaulting to the God Grift. And I find this really interesting because I see a lot more influencers doing this in the backdrop of a Trump America and in increasingly conservative landscape that penalizes whatever marginalized communities that you may belong to and compels people to side with whatever privilege they have in order to conform to conservatism. And it seems like the Island Boys are the latest ones to do that by becoming pick-me's or tokens for religion. And my biggest thoughts on that is tokens get spent. So when whatever audience that they're angling for finally gets tired of them, I wonder what they're gonna go to next. Only time will tell. But yeah, watch another Big Body Foreign video right over there. I can see you next time. Peace!